Hey, this is Scott Weiss from Andreessen Horowitz.
This is Matt Rubenstein from LiveSchool.
I had a good look at LiveSchool, and I think I understand the product. I understand you have some questions for me.
The headline question I have is, being that you are sort of from a big name in VC, I'm really curious to hear how, especially out on the West Coast, you all are thinking about the EdTech space, and specifically companies that are focused on selling to schools and districts, rather than a more sort of organic or viral approach at the teacher and classroom level.
Well, I'm sure as you just posing the question, I know that you've probably run into what is the problem with selling to schools and districts, and that's that they take a long time. The sales cycles are absurdly long. They have to get into a budgeted cycle, and so like the issue for us to invest in a company that has relatively slow growth is it's hard to see if the growth will pick up. It's hard to see when you'll get the flywheel going. And so if I look at the companies in the EdTech space like Edmodo or ClassDojo, who have kind of similar products and are going after that space that have gotten venture financing, they typically have gone free or freemium so that you get some real uses and some use cases. I have a question. How come you didn't consider going freemium and then kind of going in almost like Box.net did with getting some real usage in the corporation and then going in and trying to upsell services? Even Yammer was another great example of a freemium product that did very well in the enterprise.
Yeah, it's a great question, and in fact we did. So when we got started, we initially would set up individual teachers quite a bit. In fact, we had a lot of teachers who paid for our product. They were that excited about it. The big shift for us was there's definitely a barrier to entry in our market around getting access to student and more importantly class roster data. Right, a product like ours has to be able to give a teacher, here's your Algebra 1, your Algebra 2, all your rosters, so that you can sort of record data and share data in real time. Getting that out of these legacy systems, I won't name any names, is a huge challenge. I'm sure you're familiar with the company Clever, which has frankly kind of revolutionized that aspect of the market. But of course, individual teachers don't have access to sort of turn on that spigot for a product like LiveSchool. It has to happen at the school level. And so we sort of made this decision that, there are great companies like ClassDojo out there that are focused on just the app piece of behavior management, and we wanted to be the comprehensive platform for a school to track and improve its culture.
Is there a way for an individual teacher to adopt it without the school adopting it? Are you just dependent, either the whole school adopts it or they don't?
That's currently where we're at. That may change in the future, but sort of the insights you were talking about, sort of use cases and being able to assess how folks are using the product and iterate. The experience and exposure that we have at the school level, I think, we're very unique, probably nationally, in the amount of depth of expertise our team has on how schools go about the business of improving student behavior and school culture. I think that's a huge competitive asset. It's going to help us build the best product out there. But we are starting to look at, okay, now that we've accumulated all this sort of experience, how do we sort of move towards more of a Silicon Valley streamlined, easy to adopt offering that still leverages those insights, but gets around some of the challenges in the sales cycle that you mentioned.
There's two ways that I would go about it. One is don't get caught up in having to go out and get Silicon Valley-based money. If it's a great business and it's going to grow more slowly than like there's a lot of businesses that take a really, really long time to get started, and it may just be that the time to raise money is once you get the flywheel going, you get many reference customers, you start really turning the crank and getting kind of over the hump on these school districts, and that might be a couple of years from now where you get a real understanding of how to shave cycle time off this sales cycle. So I think that's one thing. Like, don't worry if you've got a great business and it's growing at a decent clip that can pay the bills. Maybe consider raising some debt or raising some other money. and continue plugging away, realizing it may take longer than you expect. The way that I've seen some of the other businesses, and it's certainly if I see a lot of the mobile-based businesses like Box.net or Dropbox that kind of circumvent these buying organizations, which, by the way, they're not used to this. A lot of the new stuff is completely unbudgeted for them. So getting a new unbudgeted item into a kind of a relatively old sales cycle customer base is going to be a lot harder. It's going to be a much harder road to hoe.
It's great advice. Thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that the other thing is you could look at disaggregating the product a bit more. Like I don't think you have to be all in on selling the whole product to the school district. You can also start to kind of piecemeal it a little bit, like Chinese menu the product such that you could have a freemium product. You could allow the teachers to use the product. So that they can start being advocates internally at the schools, at the school districts, to maybe push along the buying cycle issues.
Yeah, I think that's both of those are pretty awesome advice. I think you're right, and Silicon Valley money may or may not be kind of the right fit for us at the clip we're at now. But I think especially you're right that teachers have always been, since the inception. LiveSchool got started it was a basement coding project of mine as I was a teacher, and it was teachers that originally convinced administrators, hey, we should actually adopt this school-wide, and that trend has continued to today, thousands of teachers later. So I think where we've struggled is as we get bigger, there aren't the systematic ways of affording that access and tools to teachers, right? When you're smaller, it's easier to get their buy-in. As you grow, you need some way for them to dig in and get excited about it.
So, but I do want to give you some confidence around this. I mean, you're going after a ginormous market. I mean, if you think about government, healthcare, and education are all things that technology has not really infiltrated yet. And it's going to be hard, it's going to be long, but if you stick with it, you have the opportunity to be a real platform in a huge industry. I know it's frustrating to be in right now, and most of the enterprise technology companies don't start, like, that's the last place that they'll take their technology. It typically starts with the financials of the technology companies who are early adopters, who are used to being their purchasing departments are used to evaluating new technology and rolling them through. Like when I was running an enterprise company, state and local government was the last segment that we went after. And it was because of this problem. But here you're going after something, you're a core platform for these large businesses. I think you should keep plugging away at it and just look for opportunities to either shave the sales cycle or to modify or disaggregate the product so you can get it going a little faster.
Yeah, I think that makes a ton of sense, and we are seeing some interesting movement, along those lines in terms of being able to shave time off the sales cycle. I mean, we have closed some sales within a week or two of meeting someone, and it's, I think one of the things that is interesting is we're coming to a place where companies can start to sell to individual schools more like consumers than like government bodies, that at least some subset of schools are making decisions like consumers. Many of them have credit cards, purchases under a certain dollar amount they can make. They will, engage with your video. They'll look at your content and get excited and move forward. And so I think that's one of the most exciting things about the space right now, is that there's kind of these shifts happening that make it possible to do exactly what you're talking about, to kind of shave the sales cycle and deliver a great product faster.
Well, great, Matt. It's great meeting you. And I think the other thing that I've seen in this space work is going after the private schools first. We typically have more budget and move a little quicker. All right. Hey, thanks so much. I'll look forward to talking to you again.
Thank you, Scott.